We are back with an update on the AFC North after week 9 of the NFL season. This one's going to be a little shorter than the other ones, as will next week's, because you only had two teams playing and their games weren't all that interesting, and the standings order has stayed the same. So we will start with the Ravens, who have improved their record to 6-3. They beat the Saints 27-13 in New Orleans on Monday Night Football. I feel like the Ravens defense was the story of this game. Look, they had a fine offensive outing. They had, they had a game plan they executed on offense, but their defense really stood out, forcing some turnovers, really frustrating Andy Dalton and that, especially the Saints offensive line. Andy Dalton it felt like it got to a point where he was taking at least one sack per drive, and that's a testament to their defense and how they played in that game. Lamar Jackson's contract status seemed to be a big story for the main ESPN broadcast, which it's experienced some up and downs, right? It looked like the Ravens were definitely going to have to give him a whole whatever he wanted essentially early on in the season, and then as the season has progressed, Lamar Jackson has looked more and more human, although I think he did have a pretty good outing against the Saints. I know there's going to be a lot of drama about will Lamar Jackson leave or will they trade him. I personally think the Ravens will either sign him long term or they'll just franchise tag him this year and kick that decision down the road. I don't think he's going to be in a different jersey anytime soon for the Ravens. I mean, for anytime soon other than the Ravens. I don't think he's going to be in another team's jersey next season or anything like that. I think the Ravens are either going to hammer out a deal with Lamar Jackson and his people, or they're just going to franchise tag him, kick that can down the road, and see how that works. And also, the Ravens getting Deshaun Jackson on their roster. I had no idea. Maybe he's been there the whole time. I'd have no idea. But they got a guy in Kenyon Drake who's been a nice little diamond in the roughs for them. So maybe Deshaun Jackson could be the same thing. Who knows? But the Ravens are going into their bye week. They will be at the top of the division next week, no matter what. In fact, I think the current standings are going to be the same after week 10, no matter who wins or loses in next week. So now we will move on to the Bengals, who improved to 5-4. They beat the Panthers 42-21 in Carolina, and even that lopsided score is definitely misleading as well, because all of the Carolina's points were scored in garbage time. I think it was 30. I think it was 35-0 before the Panthers even. Before they even got on the scoreboard. So the game was pretty much over before it started. The Bengals beat the Panthers so bad that we got a Baker Mayfield sighting, and you know that the Panthers aren't going to want to play Baker Mayfield, because if Baker plays 70% of Carolina snaps, then the 5th round pick they gave the Browns becomes a 4th round pick. That's neither here nor there. But Joe Mixon, this was his game this week. They made up for the lack of Joe Mixon in the game plan against the Browns. Certainly, I think Zach Taylor did a decent job of adjusting to that, where last week they might have tried to get a little too cute with it. And this week they just said it's going to be the Joe Mixon show. And sometimes that works out, even when you do have Joe Burrow and that wide receiver core, even without Jamar Chase, is extremely talented. Sometimes just your starting running back going off is all you need to dominate a game. And they did that very, very well. The Bengals defense, I thought, was dominant as well, too. They also had turnovers. They benched P.J. Walker for a reason. And that's what the Bengals are going to have to do. They're going to have to keep stacking wins. They're a game behind the Ravens. Their divisional record, they're 0-3. It's very unlikely that they'll ever best the Ravens for a divisional record tiebreaker. And the Ravens' rest of the schedule is pretty easy. So the Bengals are going to have to find a way to catch up to the Ravens somehow. They hope the Ravens drop a game or two, and also just keeping up winning for the wild card standings as well, because a lot of wild card and AFC teams ended up winning this week. So, you take the wins that you're given, and this was pretty much a gimme game for the Bengals, and the Bengals are heading into their bye week as well as the Ravens were. So the Browns, they're still 3-5, had their bye week. Their next game is going to be against the Dolphins on the road. That's going to be a tough test for the Browns. We'll see what they do. And the Steelers, who are 2-6, also coming off of their bye week, their next game is at home against the Saints, who just got beat by the Ravens. The Saints look pretty vulnerable, so maybe if the Steelers are wanting to try to revitalize their season, then maybe that would be the opponent to do it against. And the Browns, I guess this is a test for the Browns to see if they're truly ready to start seriously contending for a wild card spot, maybe. Again, the Browns did not get any help from the AFC North teams, and also teams like the Chargers and the Patriots. They didn't really do much to weaken their position. So for teams like the Browns and the Steelers, it's definitely an uphill battle, and the playoffs still seem less likely than more likely for them. So thank you all for watching the video. If you made it this far, feel free to leave a like and a subscribe. If you enjoyed the video and like to see more like it, I do these AFC North updates every week. Leave a comment if you have something to say, and I will see you at the next one.